I would say the first year coming to America was the hardest year ever because I was a teenager and I was rebellion. And since my parents couldn't speak any English, so I had to deal with all the paperwork for them. I helped them find their jobs. I helped them deal with all the insurance issues, getting a car. So basically everything that like a 14, 15-year-old shouldn't have to deal with. And I was under a lot of pressure. So then for the longest time I felt like I shouldn't deserve this. But now I realize that what I did is what I had to do. It was my responsibility. And it is still my responsibilities because my parents still speaks very limited English. And so the first year I remember I cried a lot. I cried a lot because I miss my family in China. I still have my grandma, my aunt, my cousins, my friends, and all those people there. I was really, really sad. I cried every single day. And then I begged my parents and I want to go back. In the middle, these are my grandparents. And this is my mom, this is my dad, and this is my uncle. We took it in 1996, January 19th. This was the day that we took my grandparents to the train station to come to America. So there was also the last day that I saw my grandparents until I came to America. I was 3 years old. I remember crying a lot that day because my mom told me that like you're not gonna see your grandparents again. Like that's what she said to me, and then I was like, why? Oh, I asked why I can't see my grandparents.
I had chosen to do my cardiothoracic surgery residency in Texas at UT Southwestern, which I matched there. So I took my wife again, my kids, and a U-Haul, and we drove from New Jersey all the way to Dallas, Texas, which is what UT Southwestern is. We had an apartment with a friend who's a plastic surgeon working there, and we moved in there. Now, the paperwork has to go from New York to Amarillo, Texas, and from Amarillo, that's where the INS services are. Because at that time you have a visa. It's a different visa, but it's still a visa, so they have to know where you are at all times. So these papers that transferred from New York to Amarillo, something went very wrong, and the papers were lost. So I was a resident at UT Southwestern, but because of my papers not being there, I couldn't be paid, and my kids could not have health insurance, nor me, or neither me or my wife. So I made the decision at that time, okay, well, this is not adequate, and I am gonna go back to New York. So I told the chairman at UT Southwestern, this is not resolved. I have to have a family, so I have to take care of them. And so he said, well, this is UT Southwestern. You're gonna stay here for a few months. This is gonna be fixed and this and that. And I finally left back to New York to continue my work as a trauma surgeon in New York. The papers, by the way, arrived in Texas in February of that year. We're talking about June. So it was a delay of over 7 months, which is really unbelievable. We were driving from Brooklyn. I remember that day as if it was yesterday. Paloma and I alone. I don't know, the kids had to be with a relative or somebody was at home taking care of the kids, but it was my wife and I alone driving with our Jeep Cherokee, which was like 10 years old, through the snow. It was cold and it was snowy. And we wanted to go to Clifton, I believe, or Patterson or somewhere, or Montclair, whatever, somewhere. And I made the wrong turn. I don't know what I did, but we ended in Park Avenue in Rutherford. That's basically what happened. I got lost. There was no GPS back then. And when we saw Park Avenue, it was very quaint and very nice and very village type. And then I noticed it's very close to Manhattan. It's 3.6 miles, I think it is, 4 miles. And then I looked a little more into the commute possibilities, and I thought, well, this may be, and then Paloma looked into the schools. It's a very good school system, the Blue Ribbon school. And the cost back then was very reasonable for us. We had a two-level home, not a home, but two-level apartment, if you will, which was the upstairs, the second and third floor of a Victorian home for us for $1,200 or something. That was very reasonable. And so I could raise two kids with no money because people think the doctors make a lot of money, and that may be true 12 years or 15 years after you graduate, depending on what field you go into. But I made $32,700 for the first 3 years. So it's very difficult to make a living with two children and pay for all these things without money. But we did it, but my wife did it. I commuted, and I figured out how to park. I put empty plates in my car so I could park in the street and not pay for parking. And I think we were the first ones in New Jersey getting Easy Pass, so we could get pay less money to go through the tolls and all that. So my wife couponed, in the supermarket, and we lived for the first few years. So I think the proximity to New York and how safe it felt to us and how separate from the craziness of Manhattan. Because when you do the job that I did, which is a trauma surgery and a very busy level 1 and a major university's hospital, you don't want to be continuously on. Trust me, if it sounds appealing in the first 2 years, but after that, you need a break from reality. So that's the reason.
If when I came here, if somebody will say me, you'll be here like around 20 years and you will I would say, get the hell out of my face. What are you talking about? But time goes so fast. And I can't believe that next month is going to be 17 years. 17. I grew old here. I was so young. Felt so good. I felt like I'm home, and I never even thought that I will stay here for a long time, but just I liked it here, and that I really appreciate whoever created the Skype, because I can see them every day, but seeing over the internet and just seeing in real, it's probably a big difference. I would love to see them, in
person.
Yeah. So everything is so changed, so different. It's like black and white. It's I can't believe that 17 years and even I changed. Everything's changed. That part kills me, because I used to think, God forbid something happens to my parents, because I can't even go. If I go, then I will never come back. Well, it happened.
What happened?
My father died a few years ago. I couldn't go. I wasn't there. And I'm never there. I got married. At the same year, I won green card, the DV lottery program. I should have left this country, grabbed up my papers, go back, make everything, and then come back and to have a green card. And after 3 years, I would be a citizen of the United States. But I didn't know anything, because it's just too long. And I could be like maybe somewhere better. That's the only reason I'm staying here and like fighting. I don't know, fighting or whatever. So because of my son. So, and in that case, I don't regret it because he likes here and he's here and that's his home. So if it happens in next couple years, okay. If it's not, I'm not gonna be sad. But I'm sure it's gonna happen. I'm sure.